Major League Baseball is the most interesting one because there is a collection of 397 people who presumably follow the sport down to the minutest details of athletes and teams and their hierarchy and history, not just with their respective organizations, but with the league in general. And so when you look at the MLB process and how they vote on the Hall of Fame, one thing that you're sure to get is scrutiny, right? You're not just going to get someone says, "Oh, I think he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, let's put him in the Hall of Fame," kind of like the NBA. You're going to get a lot of detail, a lot of in and out, a lot of discussion about whether or not a guy belongs. But there are certain moments when, just like this past process, where you get a guy who, without a doubt, deserves to be a Hall of Famer. Yes, maybe he wasn't the greatest at his position. Yes, maybe he wasn't, the most electric interview. Maybe he wasn't the guy who, when you played his team, you were terrified of beating you. But when it was all said and done, he was easily a Hall of Famer. And of course, I'm talking about Derek Jeter. Now, the question of whether or not Derek Jeter was going to be a Hall of Famer wasn't even a question. Like, we knew he was going to be a Hall of Famer. You probably knew it 5 or 6 years into his career. He was the captain. He was steady. He was clutch. He hit when he had to. He made great plays in the field when he had to. The things that, like, his mind was just above the game, right? We talked about this when I was a football player with my coaches. Like, hey, Teke, you got to be above the X's and O's. That's look at the play as it's designed, but when you actually get on the field, it's a different level that you have to be on in order to be excellent. Derek Jeter was that every single day of his career on the baseball field. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are games that I'm missing where he had, he booted it or played horribly, but for the most part, he was the consummate pro. He was the captain. He was a 5-time champion, Golden Glove, Silver Slugger. He's the Rookie of the Year. He was top 10 in the MVP 8 times. He was top 5 in the MVP 3 times, finishing second, I believe it was 2006. And so, like, the numbers were there. The question was, would he be a 100%er? Now, there's an old, unwritten, and I'm going to say, quite frankly, stupid rule that nobody should be a 100%er. And if you go back through the history of Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame, there are plenty of them to point to. Ted Williams, one of the greatest ever. Was he a 100%er? Nope. He got 93%. How about Hank Aaron? Hammer and Hank Aaron. Until Barry Bonds came around, he was the home run king. Was he a 100%er? Nope, 97.8. There was a few people in that mix who said, yeah, I don't think Hank Aaron. Maybe that had something to do with race at the time. Joe DiMaggio, 88%. Mickey Mantle, also 88%. Right? There was this unwritten rule that nobody should be 100%. It should be an unattainable feat. In a game of failure, there's no reason that someone should be 100% allowed into Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame. That was the unwritten rule until obviously last season when the greatest pitcher, relief pitcher of all time, Mariano Rivera, and that's without question, the greatest relief pitcher of all time, Mariano Rivera, became the first to get 100% induction into the Hall of Fame. All 397 of the baseball writers of the Association of America voted him as a Hall of Famer. And it creates a very interesting discussion about this process and about Derek Jeter. Now, Derek Jeter easily was a Hall of Famer. We've established that. The statistics, the accomplishments, the fact that he was the face of baseball, he did everything the right way. He was the guy. There was no doubt about it. But he comes up short of 100% by one. 99.7% of the Baseball Writers Association of America, 396 voters vote for Derek Jeter. And there is one who abstains. One. Now, we don't know who this one is. I kind of am on the side that, dude, you got to, like, reveal yourself so you can tell us what the hell you were thinking. Like, you don't have to do that. That's just yours, private conviction. Maybe it's because you're still standing on that principle from eons ago that this 100% should be unattainable. Maybe that's your reason. You don't have to tell us, but yeah, we're a curious public and we want to know. I want to hear a legitimate reason why Derek Jeter shouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame. Because that's basically what you said. He shouldn't have been in the Hall of Fame. Because in order to not vote for him, you got to say he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. And that makes no sense when you really think about it. Now, obviously, when you fall a vote short, if it had been 10 votes short, maybe Derek would have, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But you fall a vote short, one vote short of the Hall of Fame being unanimous, you got to be bothered by it. And I care about it. I think we all care about it. You should have been 100%er because there is no possible doubt. Like, you could look at a Joe DiMaggio and say, well, he didn't play against, some of the greatest talents ever. Like, it was a different era. You could look at a Hank Aaron and say, well, pitching hadn't evolved. It was just, you knew what you were getting, right? But in a baseball society that has increasingly starting to be overrun by scandals, the steroid scandal, just now the one that we're dealing with now, the sign stealing scandal. There was one player who was above reproach. There was one player who had zero question marks. I mean, maybe we were curious as New Yorkers about what his social life was, but as far as being a baseball player, there was never a question that Derek Jeter was the ultimate professional. He carried himself the right way. He was an unbelievable teammate. He said all the right things all the time. Maybe it was boring, but you know what? He was a winner, and he did it the right way. And I find it really hard to believe that whoever this voter is saying, yeah, he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. Even if on principle, you almost lose your credibility by saying he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame.